Thor: The Dark World. Now, we were obviously not a channel when this movie came out, so that's why we're going to review this film for you guys. We're getting you ready, of course, for Thor: Ragnarok, which is coming out very, very soon. So
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm really ready too. Now, getting to this film. This film came out in 2013, and interesting fact, by the way, this is the first film I got to see with reclining seats, so that's something that's very spectacular.
Is that why you liked it in theaters?
I think that's why I thought it was at least pretty decent at the time, and I didn't mind it. It's just on subsequent viewings, I didn't mind. I didn't like it.
You were just really
much.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. It's the reclining seats. That's why it changes the value of what you see in a film. Now, getting back to Thor: The Dark World, this film was directed by Alan Taylor. Alan Taylor did, of course, direct the amazing Terminator film known as Terminator Genisys or Sega Genesis. Or whatever the hell it's called.
It was bad.
Yeah, not very good.
Not
movie.
good.
Not very good.
Khaleesi couldn't save that one.
Yeah. But getting this, he had been directing a bunch of episodes of one of Jason's favorite shows, Game of Thrones, and you do get a lot of that vibe feeling of Game of Thrones a little bit in this show. In terms of, I'm going to be honest, I've never really seen too much of Game of Thrones.
Not yet.
Not yet. I will. but on a lot of the things that I've seen, trailers and other things, I felt like a little bit of that scope. But this is by far, to me, this film is not as bad as I bash it out on. Usually, if you've watched this channel, you know I've kind of bashed this movie a little bit. It's definitely, just a little bit. It's definitely not a bad film, but it's not a very good film either. It's just, at best, I can say it's just okay.
I mean, I think it's definitely the worst of the Marvel movies for sure. I don't think it's a terrible movie, but at some points it is a little boring, and I mean, for being a Thor movie, the action is, I think, really weak. I mean, there's barely any. There's a few fight scenes, like maybe a couple, but even in the big fight scenes, I feel like there's a cool few moments, but overall, most of the fight scenes are kind of weak.
Yeah, and we're going to get, obviously, to what the flaws and some of the other things later on, but I agree with you. It is definitely, up till Spider-Man Homecoming, it's definitely the weakest of the MCU films. I believe there's been 16 so far. To me, this is the weakest, and I think it's got the weakest villain by far.
Oh yeah, the worst villain.
Malekith, he's very underdeveloped. He's not interesting at all. He's dull. He's boring. I can also make a very good case that Algrim or / Curse is way more powerful than him.
Cool, yeah.
He was actually really cool, but he's way more powerful than Malekith. Even after Malekith finally, by the way, full spoilers on this review. If you've seen the movie, obviously you're not going to be spoiled, but in case some of you haven't, spoilers ahead. But Malekith, even after he gets the ether, he's not very powerful or intimidating. You don't feel the threat level or the stakes, even though we know he's about to, destroy the 9 realms or at least cover it in darkness. But you just never feel that threat level, at least when Thor is fighting him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he looks kind of cool, and the actor is kind of imposing, but I don't know, he does nothing for me in the film. He just is really, like you said, really boring, and I mean, he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, definitely. But let's get to what we do like about this film. Chris Hemsworth, again, him returning as the Norse god of thunder, Thor. I really like his take on Thor in this film. He's a lot different than he is in the first film. The first film, he tried to battle his way through everything. He tried to fight. That's how he felt like he could. He wasn't a very mature and worthy king at that point when he was stripped of his powers. This one, he's a lot more
grown.
Yeah, he's definitely a lot more mature. He's a lot more reflective, and I really like the way the character grows and matures in this film. And he's just a lot more self-absorbed into thinking about others now and not himself.
And he's much calmer too. He has that demeanor. He's been through all the events of everything that's gone in the MCU so far, and he's definitely grown as a person. And I mean, he sort of is groomed more now for being king, even though he doesn't want to be. But he definitely is much more calm, collected, and just does not want to, doesn't crave battle anymore because he's seen kind of what it's done.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I really thought it was, even though I loved in the first film, we got to see, him trying to mature and become that worthy king, as we said, and then by the time he does get his powers back, it's very well earned. So I really love that aspect of it, but I also did enjoy finally seeing a Thor film where we got to see him be Thor the entire time. So that was really great. And then also just watching him try and battle over other realms, seeing all that, in Vanaheim we get to see at the beginning with him fighting the Cronin, Korg, I believe that was. So there were some really cool and interesting things going on, but I think the saving grace for me personally in this film is by far Tom Hiddleston
as the best
Loki.
Part of the movie for sure.
Well, without him in this film, I really don't know how much of this film I could have taken. But yeah, no, he adds such a complexity, such a level of interest, and what he just brings such a sensitivity and such an emotional side to a character most people would consider very villainous, and I would consider very misguided in the way he thinks and goes about it. And obviously, you got to look at the mental issues that this character has gone through from being abandoned as a child, learning about that, so his whole world kind of crushed in on him. But Tom Hiddleston, just like I said, brings such a soft or such a sensitive and vulnerable side to Loki that gets you so invested in this character, and he is by far my favorite MCU character. And this movie again just adds more to that when I rewatch it. So,
and yeah, every line he delivers is so powerful, even with the likes of Anthony Hopkins and all these other good actors. He's just by far the standout, and I really love the interaction that him and Chris Hemsworth have, like, especially when they break him out of the prison and they're kind of having that brotherly spat about, oh, I'm the better pilot. Oh, yeah, you are. Well, who's the one who can actually fly? Blah, 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 back and forth. And then when they finally get to Svartalfheim and they're, like, talking, and they're talking about their mom who's died, like, they're having that moment and they're fighting and they're like, yeah, Mom wouldn't want us to fight. But they have a little moment where they're smiling, and I think probably my favorite quote of the movie is when he's like, I wish I could trust you. And then Loki's like, trust my rage. I thought that was a really good, really one of the best scenes between them, just because you see them like in a very vulnerable place and like actually being close together and having those feelings.
Yeah, no, and I think you nailed it. I think Tom Hiddleston, like, again, just really showing us that vulnerable side of Loki. Like, and like, look, this character he's a murderer from what we saw in Avengers, obviously, and in Thor. I mean, he tried to murder Thor in Thor, and he murdered lots of people in the Avengers. So it's hard to be sympathetic to a character like that, but Tom Hiddleston just does such a magnificent job of just bringing you back, and grounding that character to the point of you can relate to him in a way that's, non-comprehensible, but he's just so good at conveying his emotions. And also, too, you mentioned the relationship between Thor and Loki. It is just, again, it's so interesting. It's obviously more interesting than what's going on with Malekith or the Ether or Jane or anything else, and of course, Darcy and Ian. But again, it's their relationship, their bond that makes watching this all the more interesting. And like you said, that conversation where like, damn well, and then he's like, that it's a very powerful scene. Like, more scene, I would have like the dramatic tension you get even in slow scenes like that just builds to like a lot more powerful moments later on down the line. But I really wish the film would have stuck with moments like that, because those were really good moments in the film for me. I also gotta say too, I really love how this movie delved into learning that how close that Loki is with Frigga, Rene Russo's character, his mother. And also that we learned that, I like the line that Thor gives us, like, I had mother's trust, you had her tricks. Like, because we finally learned that's where Loki got all his tricks, where he can disappear.
And make a little, like a
exactly. He got that all from Frigga. And there was also an interesting deleted scene where, Thor asks if she feels guilty about giving him that, and she says not for a moment. But interesting scene, deleted scene. But again, getting back to this, I did like how this film delved into that relationship portion. It was very interesting. And also, too, again, that line you mentioned, trust my rage, like, you understand his motivation, why he's helping Thor. It's his mother. He loved her.
Because he even says, like, when Thor thinks that Loki's dying in his arms, and he's like, I'll tell father what you did here. And he's like, I didn't do it for him. And I was kind of thinking in the moment, oh, he did it for you, but he really did it for Frigga.
Of course.
And I love seeing, too, when he first goes into the dungeons to get Loki, and Loki's look like, oh, what do you want? And then he's like, stop your tricks or whatever, and you see him like he's actually tricks, sitting on the ground with everything all over the place. You can see how devastated he is.
Now you see me, brother. Yeah, no, I agree. No, that was a very powerful moment.
Tom Hiddleston in this movie really does just make the whole movie. I mean, that's the reason why I like it at all.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. And also too, when you feel the vulnerability, like I said, the vulnerability, and also how devastated he feels, because not only has Frigga died, he's the one who told Curse where he said you might want to take the stairs to the left.
Yep.
I mean, obviously he didn't plan for his mother to die, but it's still, he feels that guilt level towards that. So, I mean, again, Tom Hiddleston just does such an incredible, amazing job just really conveying whatever emotions he's conveying on his face, and just the lines you feel. It's just, you get so much more invested in this character. It's amazing performance. All right, well, now we got the music composed in Marvel. Sometimes they just cannot stick with the same composers. We got Brian Tyler, fresh off of Iron Man 3, the previous Marvel Phase 2 film right before this that came out. Now, Brian Tyler, I thought he did give a very good score. I'm not going to lie, I really did miss Patrick Doyle's score from the first film. I love that theme he gave Thor, that cocky, arrogant, ominous theme that he gave him. But I gotta say, after rewatching this film, I really did enjoy Brian Tyler's score. My biggest issue, though, with Marvel, the MCU, what they do is, like I said, I just wish they would stay consistent with the themes, or with the composers at least, because I love when we get themes in movies where you hear that theme and you're like, that's that character's theme, or, you know what I mean? Like,
they're gonna change composers, that's fine, but still have them use those themes. You know?
Yeah, and again, this is not a MCU to DC comparison, but like if I say Wonder Woman, I can go like I know her humming his theme.
Yeah.
Like, can any of you hum Thor's theme? I don't. You know, it's I want these themes to be really memorable, and I just want them to stay a little more consistent. That being said, I still did really enjoy Brian Tyler's score. Just the emotions you get conveyed during, of course, Loki's death, Frigga's death scene.
Yeah, that funeral scene for me was like one of the best moments.
Oh, absolutely, it was a very good moment, and also too the moment where Thor's with his shirt off, where he's being self-reflective, and yeah, you gotta get.
They have to show.
You gotta get
Thor.
you gotta get that. Hey, Chris Hemsworth's in great shape, man.
They want girls to come see this movie.
Exactly. Hey, you can't blame them. Can't blame them. Just doing business, guys. But again,
big.
Yeah, he did. I love that music though. That's playing where he's self-reflective, because again, the emotion that's you feel conveyed on Chris Hemsworth's face on top of the Brian Tyler music just really works well with each other.
Yeah.
By the way, we forgot to mention one of the characters, Heimdall. Heimdall is freaking awesome in this movie. He was really cool again in the first movie too.
Yeah, especially that scene though where he just sees the invisible ship and he jumps up and just man.
And also too, Frigga, she got a lot more to do in this film.
She can fight.
I will say this, I thought the way she fights and moves in this was awesome, but she's 20 times faster in this than she was in the first Thor when she was fighting, when she was going to save Odin from King Laufey. But bitch, you stole my line. I was going to say she probably learned from that and I got to practice. So I'll give her the benefit of the doubt, and I agree with you, she probably was. But I love the way they made Frigga move in this. And again, that emotional impact you felt in the scene with which happened when she died. All right, now let's get to the humor in this film. I personally do not think that they put enough humor in this film. They should have tried a lot harder. Like, I'm trying very hard right now to have humor, but I'm kind of forcing it right now. So that's kind of what this movie did a few times.
They definitely tried way too hard.
And if I'm really being very specific, I'm just going to say Ian and Darcy. They are by far the most annoying characters. A lot of their dialogue is just forced comedic banter that just doesn't work, and a lot of the moments too, they're just trying to be funny and they're just not. That's first of all. Also too, a lot of the moments too, it's just it's trying to have a sense of humor in humorless moments, and I don't know, just like I like in a big battle, I don't like I don't want to hear these funny quips. Let's get to the dramatic tension and the action. Let's build upon that. Like, I don't want to hear Ian and Darcy like making jokes, and then don't even get me started with them throwing the keys. It just makes the character look so incompetent.
I did like that kissing scene though, just because she was the one who was holding him. I thought that was kind of hilarious, just making him look even
after
dumber.
He did the manly like thunder choke slam with that car. Yeah, she should be the one holding him.
Exactly.
But there was definitely some really good humor in this film for sure. Like, Loki had a lot of great and funny moments. Like
the Captain America cameo was so good.
That is so fun. I was dying. I still die and laugh so hard every time I watch it. But in theaters,
so confident.
Yeah,
patriotic.
Yeah, no, and I gotta say too, I love how over the top Chris Evans gets there, and I kind of appreciate that too, because I'm glad he never got that over the top for Captain America. So it's a good preview of like that's the way to not do it. But it's funny because Loki is.
Well, yeah, it's a good impersonation of Loki impersonating him.
Exactly. No. Exactly.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I'd say some of there's two other moments that really stood out to me humor-wise, like when the prison break is happening in the dungeons, and then someone gets thrown into Loki's like force field thing, and Loki's just like
reading a book
and like brushes off. Moments like that, like characters aren't even talking, and I'm laughing really hard there. Like
situational comedy.
Yeah, exactly. But that's organic to me, like not forcing it with like Darcy and Ian, for instance. And also too, I gotta say, there's one moment with Eric Selvig where it's just so funny. Where Thor, he says to Thor, he goes, "Are you all right, Eric? Your brother's not coming, is he? Loki is dead." Oh, thank God. I mean, I'm very sorry to hear. And then he gives the little brush look. Like, that was freaking hysterical. But and you get why he feels that way. The guy was in his brain, mind controlling him in the first Avengers, or in Joss Whedon's The Avengers. Don't want to confuse it with Captain America: The First Avenger.
It is the first Avengers film.
I know. I just don't want to confuse it with the subtitle of Captain America: The First Avenger. But you are correct.
Right.
But yeah, no, there are definitely a few good humorous moments. I just felt that they did it too many times, and when you do it too much, it can kind of feel like a parody on itself. So I just, it
was just too forced. I think you said it. I mean, it was too forced. They were trying too hard, and they're slipping in humor in spots where it doesn't need humor, and again, it was funny. I'm not gonna lie. Like the moments on the ship with Loki and Thor, very funny. But it's like right after the mom died. I don't know if they're gonna be in such a mood to be so happy right away. But again, it was maybe to get their mind off. I don't know. But I just just a lot of humor in this film. I would have just to tone it down a little bit. You betray him. I'll kill you.
That was good. I actually did enjoy
I think
that.
this is going to be a line.
Yeah. We kind of already went over most of our gripes and flaws that we had personally with the film. One of the other little things that I had was when the Einhajar warrior, really being impersonated by Loki, of course, when he comes back to tell Odin that Loki has died, it's an interesting moment, I'm not going to lie, because I feel like there's a couple ways you can look at it. Odin is kind of like, Loki. Like, does he realize the Einhajar soldier is Loki? Like, it's the way it's played out. But I would have preferred, like, he learns of Loki's death and, like, you feel, like, the sadness and the emotional struggle that Odin would feel in that case. Because he still deep down does love Loki. He's just frustrated, of course, by what he's done and what he's created, in terms of his son and what he's, gotten him to do, he feels like. But I just would have wished we would have gotten that moment, that impactful moment, because it would have added a little more emotional weight, like that really Odin does, even though I know he does, but it just would have added a little more moments, just grounded the film, because it does get back to the tie, which is the theme of this, which is kind of family. They have a fucked up family, but it is about family.
And like, I feel like Loki's totally testing Odin in that situation, like, oh, what is he going to say? I kind of want to hear, but we never get to see that moment. And then obviously we don't know what he does to Odin, but he obviously takes him over because at the end of the movie, he's the one who's on the throne, as we see at the end, which I thought was a really cool ending, because, like, I kind of knew because we saw that scene, but, like, that reveal at the end was a really cool way to end the movie.
And also, too, it was interesting, is Odin dead? Did Loki kill him? Did he imprison
I don't
him?
think he's dead.
No, we know for a fact that he is alive in Thor Ragnarok. They are looking for him. We saw at the end credit scene in Doctor Strange, I believe it was. We see Thor and Doctor Strange talking. He said, "Allow me to help you." Because to find Odin,
I'm ready for that. That's for sure.
It's going to be incredible. There's a conversation at the end of the film that makes no sense to me. We see Loki impersonating Odin, as you kind of just mentioned, and he says, "You once said there would never be a wiser king." Okay, how did Loki know that? Loki wasn't there. This is in the first Thor movie when Odin said this. Loki had fallen into the abyss. And by the way, I listened to the audio commentary of this film just to see if any of them knew that Loki wasn't there, or how does he know that? Kevin Feige literally says, right when the line happens, that's a callback line to the first film when Odin says that to Thor. So Kevin Feige remembered that, but he didn't remember that Loki is impersonating Odin. He wasn't there. How does he know what he said? It makes no sense.
I don't know. Unless somehow Loki, like, has Odin's memories, but I don't think so. So
okay, well, you never said that or explained that, but even then, that sounds stupid.
Yeah, it does. I just can't think of any other.
Again, it's a good line. It makes no sense why Loki knows that.
A little bit of a continuity issue.
Yeah. All right, final thoughts. This film is definitely not as bad as I've been bashing over the last couple years, but like I said, it's by far the weakest MCU film today, which is saying something, because there have been some amazing MCU films, and that's the level that these films have to be at, to feel like they're competent enough. But, again, this film still has great production value. There are some really good things in it. The relationship between Loki and Thor, Loki and Frigga, Loki and anyone, of course.
Yeah, just Loki.
Yeah, but, it does have some decent action. I'm not going to say great action. There are cool action sequences. Could have maybe had some better ones, but the direction's okay. The visual and special effects I thought were pretty good in this film. The music by Brian Tyler was very good. I thought the cinematography was very good. You didn't get as many dunce shots without Kenneth Branagh in this film.
Yeah.
But, and again, you got that little bit of that Game of Thrones feel. But, like I said, there were quite a few annoying supporting characters, including Ian and Darcy. Malekith was just very underdeveloped villain, as I mentioned. Never got that threat level. And, like I said, this film was okay, but it's got Loki, so enough said. And I'm going to give Thor: The Dark World a 6.8 out of 10.
I think I'm going to give this one a 6.5. This movie, the story is just whatever. The villain, very weak. The action, very weak. For me, we've said it enough times, like, the dynamic between Loki and Thor, or pretty much anybody, just Loki in general, he's our favorite MCU character. Thor is a great character too, and I like seeing them together. I like seeing them being brothers. I feel like they're more brothers in this movie than we've seen them pretty much in any other instance, and I really like seeing those emotional moments, especially right after Frigga dies. Like, those scenes are really, really good, and I'd love to see more of those scenes in Thor Ragnarok. So maybe not as emotional because her mom hasn't just died, but I want to see their interaction a lot. So I don't think it's a terrible movie, but overall, I mean, it's definitely the worst one of the series. So 6.5 for me. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let us know what you thought about it in the comments section. We are going to be doing an Easter eggs video for this movie, and obviously we're going to be doing Thor Ragnarok when it comes out, so be on the lookout for that. And if you guys like these videos, you can hit the subscribe button.
See you guys next time.